Hello, everyone. It's Mel Cherrygate from Whoever You Are podcast, and I have another guest today. It's Sean. He's the first. First guy that I interview that um, it's more than just a recovering addict. He's also like a coach and like a personal trainer, so he focuses on health, and of course, he has a history with drugs, and he changed his whole life about that, and we were talking about that right just now, and so he will share a little bit, and then as usual, we're gonna chat, and that's it. I hope you guys enjoy it. And hi, Shan, how are you?
Very well, Mel. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So tell us, like we were talking just now before recording, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got where you are now.
Great. So, my journey of alcohol started when I was around 14 years old. I started drinking very early, growing up in very humble beginnings, we'd say. And my drinking was problematic from when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
I was kicked out of my house. I moved into a hostel. I then got kicked out of the hostel due to drinking. I was homeless at 15 and sleeping on the streets. I didn't do any qualifications at all. And I was very fortunate when I was 16, on my 16th birthday, my grandparents come and picked me up and took me to Wolverhampton. And that gave me a new opportunity. I was growing up in the north of England near Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, from 16 to 18, I was still trying to find myself. I wasn't too sure, but drinking wasn't a real issue here. When I was 18, I found my passion for fitness and I trained and qualified as a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
I spent 2 years doing that. And then when I was 20, I joined the military. I spent 4 years in the military, including a tour of Afghanistan in 2010. But in this period, my drinking wasn't consistent, but it was still problematic. There would still be things that would show up in my drinking that would suggest that it probably wasn't the best thing for me to do. Then when I left the music my career as in the military, I went back into personal training, and then I another incident happened where I got a job as an aviation firefighter and I qualified for the role. But then on the last day, I got really drunk and they ended up sacking me for gross misconduct. So I went back into personal training, but my heart really wasn't in it at that point. And I found a passion for music in the electronic scene. I started basically practicing DJing, and long story short, I got a very lucky break in London, and we ended up getting a residency at a club in King's Cross called Egg. That was it then. I left my career in fitness and went all in on music. But as I'm sure you're aware, but even if not, that in the music industry, there's a lot of partying, there's a lot of drugs, there's a lot of drinking, and there was no routine, no structure. My fitness got left behind, and as my career grew, so did my substance use. Now I started using cocaine, and so did my drinking, and it got progressively worse. I spent 4 years in London as a DJ, which was amazing. But at the same time, there was a lot of underlying problems that people wouldn't have been able to see. It was successful on the outside, but coping with drugs and alcohol behind closed doors. And 4 years into that, I ended up moving to Berlin. We got another opportunity in Berlin, in Germany, and my brother, who I DJ'd with, we moved over to Berlin, and that just made the problem worse, to be honest, because with Berlin, anyone who's been to Berlin and understands the culture over there, it's even more elevated than London, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I used to live in Germany, and
Mm,
the night scene, it's like it's different than anywhere.
yeah, I mean it's great. It's I loved the sense of freedom, but at the time that's not what I needed. I needed structure. I needed discipline. I needed routine again. And the first year was, again, on paper, it looked incredible. I was playing at all these incredible clubs like Tresor, Club Divisionaire, had a residency at Watergate. We were traveling all around the world. But again, in the background, I was living paycheck to paycheck. All my money was going on
Yeah.
cocaine, and that got worse and worse. And just before COVID hit, I was in a really bad place. I was struggling to stay in one house at a time because I kept getting kicked out. So I was sleeping in my studio a lot of the time. And when COVID happened, it presented an opportunity to break the cycle that I was stuck in.
Mm-hmm.
And what it did do is it gave me the opportunity to see how bad things really were.
Mm-hmm.
I was very much playing on the identity of being a DJ, right? And the ego was telling me everything was all right. But when that stopped, it showed me that I was just really a drug addict at this point. I was using cocaine 3-4 times a week. Alcohol always included in that. There was a lot of drama going on. I was spending all my money on it. It was very problematic. So breaking the cycle with COVID was great at the time, but it didn't solve the problem because as soon as COVID stopped, the gigs started coming back. And then in 2021, I moved back to England. The idea was to continue my career, but in England after spending 4 years in Germany. And my brother, he'd sort of had enough of our time in the music industry and he wanted to leave. And our first gig back in the UK, the idea was to essentially do the same thing but get a different result, right? I was telling myself that I could still stay in the music industry, but I wouldn't drink, I wouldn't use drugs, and everything was going to be great. And that's honestly what I believed. And the first gig back, I'd told myself that I wasn't going to drink, and I ended up drinking, I ended up using cocaine, and I ended up waking up in hospital, nearly dying from an overdose, and I had a big gash on my head. I didn't remember anything at all. And at that point, I sort of had a breakdown, and I remember ringing my brother and my dad and just explaining what had happened. And the next day, I had to make the decision. It's either I keep doing the thing that's put me in this position, or leave it and start my own journey through recovery. And I did. I rang my agent the next day and quit. And we had a tour of Australia planned. We had all these gigs planned. And again, on the outside, it looked great. Yeah, it looked successful. But I knew if I'd stayed in that environment, it would have killed me.
Yeah. And success, people think that success it's like the it's like you're gonna be happy, and
Mm,
it's I don't think it's related success
no,
with happiness.
no.
You can be very successful and being like dying inside or with an addiction. And I also was like thriving as an artist, but I was drinking and hiding drinking and using cocaine to do whatever. And but I saw a post, I think a post from you, that says that when you gave up DJ, you lost your identity.
Mm,
And I think that is this is the hardest part of the beginning of the recovery, because we have to break. Uh, it's almost like a relationship you have, right, with yourself. That is,
mm,
it becomes you who you are, and then of course that even if it's really bad, it is still something that you identify as, and you have kind of like to grieve that part of you that
mm.
for you was like your life as a DJ, and it needs a lot of courage to really say no, I can't do that anymore, even though it's something that you love, right?
Absolutely. And the thing is, I tried maybe for 3 or 4 years before that point. I tried so much. I tried AA. I got therapy through the Military Benevolent Fund, which is like a charity for veterans. I got a grant for that for my therapy. That didn't work. AA didn't work. CA didn't work. And I think it's because it was really attached to my identity and who I was at the time. You know, I was using drugs for any situation, to have fun, to socialize, to make music, to do all these sorts of things. So It was it was definitely tough, and the first year was really just about rediscovering who I am
Mm-hmm.
and what do I actually enjoy, where am I most comfortable, what do I need to improve on, and and I found my passion for fitness again, which was huge, which was huge for me because it helped me to then start to get used to being uncomfortable, right? Because I think sobriety for a lot of people is just being able to sit with the discomfort.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So I spent 2 years from like 2021 to 2023 just trying to rediscover who I was. I got my first job back after music, which was head of PE for a primary school.
Okay.
So I was doing that, but at the same time, I was still tied to this image of me being a DJ, and like my ego was still massive, and I was trying to moderate my drink and drug use.
Mm.
And at the time, what would happen is that because I wasn't in the same environment, I would have a couple of times where I'd have a few drinks,
Mm.
nothing would happen. I'd go out and have a party and nothing would happen. And what that really did is it put me into a false sense of security that this time it's going to be different.
Mm.
But back in 2023, 3 years ago, a couple of weeks ago actually, I went to watch the boxing with my brothers. I took them there for the birthday, and we went there. We had a couple of drinks, and I bumped into someone in the toilet who knew me from back in the day, and he's like, "Do you want a little bump?" I was like, "Yeah, of course I do." And then I just spent the whole night just focused on getting more cocaine, and it just ruined it. I woke up in the morning, wasted my money, left my brothers, just went right back into that old ego of who I was when I was using all the time. And that's when I had to make the decision of, do I continue to keep risking and moderating for the sake of this romantic for this cocaine that I keep romanticizing, which is just going to serve me no purpose, or do I really just move away from it? But what I realized at that point as well is that I couldn't keep doing the same things. And what I had done for so long was focus on removing drugs and alcohol. And that was always the focus. How many days sober am I? Oh, taking it one day at a time, or calling myself an addict. And I realized that didn't work for me. What I had to do is fundamentally three things, which is what had brought what we teach now in the coaching. And that is firstly build a foundation, which
Mm-hmm.
was just get comfortable being uncomfortable, build discipline. Because I realized for myself, even though I've had childhood trauma, I've probably got some PTSD from being in a war zone, and I've more than likely, if you tested me, I've probably got some sort of ADHD or something, right? The thing is what I realized is that them excuses were not going to change the actions that I was doing right now. And I see this so much. I think it's so easy to blame our past or put a label on the reason why we're using. But for myself, it was a habit. I was saying yes when I should be saying no.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter after because if it is because you're like I'm bipolar, but if it is because I am bipolar or because of this or that, the problem was that I was abusing and I could not stop, and so it is because I could not, like you said, I could not sit with myself. I
Mm,
felt uncomfortable with myself, and also I think cocaine, especially, gives you that ego, right? That
mm, mm,
your superpower, invincible, and oh my God, I can imagine you being a DJ, like in a
mm,
club full of people with music
mm.
and the drug, you feel
Of
like
course.
God, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So but I think it's so amazing because it takes I was not at the party scene or anything. I was already like a mom, and
Mm,
it was hard for me, and I can imagine for you to really really like change your life for yourself, because sometimes we like I could change my life for my daughter, but for me I really
mm,
I was
mm.
like whatever. And then the first time I went to rehab was for my family.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And of course, I relapsed. And then on the second time, I did it for myself.
Well, I think that this is the thing with things like rehab, right? Is that usually it doesn't, it just removes you from what you were doing. I mean, I'm only speaking to my for myself here, but I think that my cocaine use was just me saying yes when I should have been saying no. And I think also what we forget is cocaine's really addictive, right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
like that's what it's supposed to do. You do a line, you want more of it.
No,
But
and you don't stop, right? You
of
can
course,
go like 1, 2, 3 nights. I remember when I was younger, and just after
of
cocaine.
course, yeah.
Yeah.
This is what the drug is designed to do. But what I found is that I needed to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I also needed to simplify it. I think for so long I was trying to overcomplicate it. I was trying to overcomplicate my addiction and what was really going on and looking for all these answers when I started to simplify it and realize, well, what is actually happening? It's like I'm putting myself in these positions. I'm the one calling the dealer. I'm the one getting it. I'm the one doing it. No one else, nothing else. It's me. But then I thought, well, how am I going to stop this? Well, I realized that firstly, I've got to build discipline. That's an absolute key. I've got to become disciplined. And a great way for me to build discipline was through my fitness because I knew with fitness, that's going to help me get comfortable being uncomfortable over a period of time. And it's also a really good opportunity for me to set some goals in place.
Mm-hmm.
But even that, I still realized that that wasn't enough because for 2 years before that, I was training, I was semi disciplined. I think the one element that I was really missing was starting to focus on a bigger vision, like the version of myself that I actually wanted to become. And that then become the focus of everything that I was doing. And and that helped so much because then I could focus on that rather than always focusing on I need to remove drugs and
Mm-hmm.
alcohol because it's a problem. It become I need to do X, Y, Z because this is who I want to be. This is what I'm working towards. And I just stopped thinking about drugs and alcohol so much. I stopped spending time with people who were using drugs and alcohol because that was not who I was aligned with. I
Yeah, you
stopped
have
putting myself in these positions and I just started to ask myself more and more, is this action that I'm doing right now aligned with the person that I was becoming? And it
yeah, yeah. It all comes to this, and for me, it's the same thing. Like, do I want to be the mom that has to use cocaine to take her kid to the park, or do I want to spend like actually time with my daughter?
Mhm.
I remember like she wanted to go to the beach, and I didn't want to go to the beach because I know it would take a lot of time, and then I wanted to drink or use, and I wanted to come back home. And so I did not enjoy any of the time. I was always in a rush to get more and how I'm going to get it. And and I, I, I don't know. I also had to change like all relationships, people. But in the end, I was actually doing by myself at home. I was
Mhm.
not like in a
Mhm.
club or in a social gathering. It was just to use the drug to try to have that same feeling from the beginning. And of course, you don't. And anyone that knows a little bit about addiction knows that we are always uh, searching for that feeling that we felt in the beginning, right? And I still like the people that I really wanted to reach was people who are struggling still, So that's why I'm doing the podcast is to share stories of people that are in recovery or are thriving. And I like that each one has their own journey, but it's all very similar because and at the end is sitting with yourself, liking who you are, and have this purpose, who I want to be, and act on it. right? It's basically.
Absolutely, and I think that's why I ended up starting Willer's coaching. Like when I first started, we were working with a lot of people in the music industry, and that's what it was essentially. When I first set it up, was helping people in the music industry just change their lifestyle and start to get a little fitter and healthier, right? But as I went through my own journey through sobriety, I realized that actually what I've created through the take back control system was a completely different look on removing alcohol. And what you said there, I think, is really important, is that there isn't just one size fits all. I think that when it comes to sobriety, there are different opportunities for people to try. The key is to make sure that if one doesn't work, you don't give up, right? You keep trying until you find something that works for you. And what we've found is that by building this foundation, setting good quality fitness goals, having someone hold you accountable to them, and then building that bigger version and that vision of yourself, we had so much success. But then it also got me thinking that you don't need to remove drugs and alcohol just because there's a problem, right? It's for me in my own life. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have had the opportunities that I've had and get to this place where I am now. But in hindsight, for me, it would have been much more beneficial for me to remove alcohol years ago because it was always something that was holding me back, even though in my early 20s, I wasn't an addict because I was in the military. It was still holding me back from reaching my full potential back then. It was still causing drama. It was still problematic. It might not have been all the time. It might not have been to the point where it ended up in my early 30s in hospital. But nevertheless, it was still holding me back. And this is what we're trying to get out to people now, especially a lot of men that we work with, is that just because you're not at rock bottom, just because you're not drinking every day, just because you're not using drugs, every single weekend, it doesn't mean that it isn't holding you back
Yeah.
from who you could really
Yeah,
be.
I totally relate to that because I also, when I was younger and partying, I also managed to do my life at work. I was only on like the weekends, and but when I think about it now, it was holding me back because there's no way that you're gonna reach your full potential if you're drinking, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, even if it's it's only on the weekends, it doesn't matter. It affects you. And I tell this my husband all the time because he still drinks. But he can manage his life to drink like one or two beers every day, and then he will kill me if he watch this. He goes 3 times a week to the gym, and then what the result?
Mm.
Drinking beer every day. It's never gonna happen. I told him,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I think
but
it,
it's the person has to decide for themselves, right?
of course, absolutely. I, even though it comes across sometimes on social media, if you want to drink, that's up to you. Like it doesn't, it's none of my business at the end of the day. But if you do feel that you are not where you want to be in your life right now, have a look at how much you're drinking. How often are you using cocaine? How often are you drinking? Because if you're using even once a week, you're probably not operating at 100% 2 days a week. If you've got a business or you've got a high pressure job and a family, and a wife or a husband on top of that, and a social life, there's a good chance you're probably feeling overwhelmed. And that is more than likely the reason why. Because every week you're missing 2 days or you're not fully at 100%, that compounds over time. And this is the reason now why I don't drink. I give up drinking and drugs because it was a clear problem in my life. The reason why I don't go back to it anymore is not because I'm an addict or I'm scared of what it could turn into. It's just because I see no value in it anymore. I don't want to be waking up ever
Yeah,
feeling hungover from something that I did the night before, because that's going to have a massive impact on how I operate the rest of the week. And I think that that's why I've been able to have so much success. And when I say success, I mean it in my own personal right, not compared to anyone
your
else, just
journey.
for myself. The reason why I've had so much success over the past 3 years is because I've not missed a day. Unless really want to just sit down and do nothing, that's because I've said so. That's been my decision, not because I've been forced into it because of something that I did the night before. And that's why I've been able to just create so much, because that has compounded over time. And that's how I want people to look at sobriety, not you're missing out on something. Because let's face it, if you're in your 30s and beyond that, there is nothing that drugs and alcohol is going to give you that it already hasn't, right? You know what I mean? The parties are not going to get any wilder than they were.
Yes.
So think about what you can gain from removing drugs and alcohol, from operating at 100% every day. It's incredible. I love that feeling. I love that vision of it.
Yeah, I like the thought that instead of I can't, poor me because I'm an addict, more as I don't want to.
Of course. Yeah.
It's more like I'm making a choice for myself. I'm not like the only person that I can drink. I can go there and drink. Anyone can, like you said, it's none of your business. Someone wants to drink or use drugs. But it is the choices that you make every day that shape your life, and that's just how it is.
That's it.
It's a cliche, but it's
Well, it is true, and I think that the problem is that now a lot of people don't want to take responsibility for their actions, including me for a long time. I was not happy with the way I looked, with the way I felt, how I acted with people, the amount of money I had in the bank, but I didn't want to take responsibility for the one action that was causing all this pain and causing me to not be there.
Yeah,
and
you find excuses everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah, of course.
Don't go to the only thing that's causing this. It's crazy.
Exactly. And that's why we call the program that I do Take Back Control, because it's not about how many days you don't drink for, or do you drink, or do you moderate. It's about taking back control of your life. It's about taking responsibilities for your actions. And the great thing is about this, Mel, I've found, is that now I've taken full responsibility for my actions. If I'm not happy with the way I look, with the amount of money in my bank, with how my business is going, I know I've only got myself to blame for that. And the good thing is about that is that I know that I can do something about it, you know? Whereas before, when I was drinking all the time, I'd make all these excuses and all these reasons why I couldn't do this, or why I was here, or why I was there. And it just come down to the fact that I wasn't taking responsibility for my actions. And that one action was drinking, which used cocaine, and then that would just, all hell would break loose most of the time, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy, like delusional we get. You know, with the reality, because anyone can. It's kind of obvious, and we don't want to see it, right?
Cool. I think the ego, that for me was a huge one. I had such a big ego. 10 years in the music industry, it was almost that. I think that was the hardest thing for me, was just, if I said that drugs and alcohol was the problem, I would have to say that I'm the problem, you know. And this is why I think so many people lean into labels and not really. I mean, even with AA, for example, for me, I didn't like that, because it took responsibility away from me. It kept my ego there, because by me saying that I'm an addict, essentially I'm saying it's not my fault. It's not my fault that I'm using cocaine. Whereas on the flip side of that, when I removed the ego from it, when I took responsibility, it is my fault. It was my fault. Now I'm in control. Now I'm in control of the decisions that I make.
Yes,
And
I do agree that some people don't really like because it's like put you on condition that you don't have a choice. By the end of the day, anyone that starts using cocaine every day will have a problem with that. It's not like I was born with that, and then I'm still like don't know for sure if it's of course has the genetics, and that's the trauma when you were little, and everything can adds up to an addiction. But at the end of the day, it's your choice.
course. I think the thing is, look, everything works for anyone, right? AA works for some people, therapy works for some people, maybe my program will work for some people. On the flip side of that, it won't, right? AA won't work for some people, rehab won't for some people, my program won't for some people, which is absolutely fine. But you hit the nail on the head there, is that we all started by choice, right? And if you're just a bad drunk, I was a bad drunk from when I was 14. Alcohol just didn't agree with me, yeah? That's just how it is. But when we look at what alcohol actually is, it's not something our body needs, is it? It's the same with cocaine. It's like these are manufactured products. Like these are drugs in themselves. So if they don't serve you, why keep doing it? It's like why do we accept it?
Yeah, and alcohol is so hard because it's a culture almost. The alcohol, everybody gathering for drinking sometimes, just for that.
Of course, yeah.
I would go someplace or some party just because I could drink.
Yeah, yeah.
And not feel guilty because okay, I'm on a party or I'm on a dinner, so it's okay, everybody's drinking. And of course, there's a lot of people that can enjoy like a glass of wine and that's it. I can't. But it's like you said, it doesn't matter because it still is a drug and it's something that you put in your body that it's poison.
It has an impact, right? It's every action has a reaction, and that is the reality of alcohol. Whether you function with it or not, it's not. It's probably not serving you in the way that you would hope. I think the problem is like you say, it's just such a cultural thing. It's something that we've institutionally know for everything, for every different scenario, that thinking of a life without it becomes really difficult. But
Just the thought of it.
yeah, but that's where the work is, right? That's where the work ends up being.
And as the longer I am sober, and if you and when I think about it, like rationally, it's crazy that alcohol it's even legal, and I can go to the supermarket now and buy 6 bottles of whiskey, and it's okay. I mean, and people can drink how much they want and live in society, and then that's it. You know, it's crazy if you think about it. That's something that's legal.
Absolutely, but that when it comes back down for myself, that's why I think it's so important to have that discipline and that control, because we want to be doing the things that are moving us forward, not stopping us from that full potential. And again, like I said, that's what keeps me going backwards these days.
Yeah, that's awesome. And well, Sean, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. I think uh, it's it always helps a lot of people, and people that sometimes are not like in rock bottom, and, but you don't need to go to rock bottom to get a better life, right? And I think that's essentially what we're talking here. That um, it's about wanting to be the better version of yourself,
Absolutely.
right? So, okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mel, for
I'll,
having me. It's been a
I'll
pleasure.
post it and I'll tag you, and I'm gonna tell people about your program and keep it up because I think you're doing like awesome job helping so many people.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we keep in touch.
Thanks, Mel.
Ciao, ciao, bye.